Hi, I'm Dr. Sharon DeVivo, president of Vaughn College, now in our 90th year, and host of our podcast, Futureproof Focus. Through unscripted, honest conversations with prominent industry leaders, students, faculty, and alumni, we will explore diversity, equity, and inclusion in education and employment, and the forces that drive personal and career growth. Let's dive in. I'm so happy to be joined today by two of my colleagues and experts in the field of health and wellness, Dr. Stacey Dutil, who's Vaughn College's Director of Counseling and Wellness, and Omari Wright, who's an athletics coordinator with Vaughn. And I think this topic comes at such an appropriate time. You know, summer season is in full swing, and we're on the heels of Mental Health and Stress Awareness Months. So welcome, Omari and Stacey. I'm really excited to have this conversation. Thanks so much for making time in your busy schedules. I know both of you are very active on campus, and we're getting ready for the fall term, so there's lots of planning going on as well. So just to get started, why don't you two introduce yourselves and talk a little bit about, you know, what's included in your portfolios on campus. Stacey, why don't we start with you?
Sure. So I'm Dr. Stacey Dutil. My background is in clinical social work. So I've been with Vaughn for a little over 4 years. In the Counseling and Wellness Center. And we've been able to expand in the time I've been there to having clinical interns with our partnership with the Yeshiva University. And so the interns are also a really important part of our counseling and our wellness programming that we offer to students on campus. So we do a lot of different things. We do individual group counseling, crisis intervention, but a lot of educational pieces there, and programming on campus and collaborating with other departments, which I'm sure we'll talk a little more about.
Yeah, how about you, Omari?
Well, thanks for having me today, Sharon. I have a background in athletics. I'm an athletics coordinator, organizing all of our varsity sports teams and recreation and wellness programs. Our department works directly with Dr. Dutil, so we can provide wellness programs for the entire college community. Outside of athletics, I handle the academic success for all of our student athletes to make sure they persist to graduation. I just recently started a women empowerment group, which I'm very excited about the expansion of that group, our Women Are Warriors program. Being raised by a single parent, single mom, 4 siblings, you know, it's extremely impactful for me to have the incredible women of our college and institution to be able to come into community, gather, and also to empower people to get to levels and heights that they aspire to be.
Terrific. Thank you. Yeah, we're going to talk a little bit more about your women's program, which was really exciting this past year. And I know you're looking forward to growing that as well. All right. So we all know this. You're right. Mental health, anxiety, depression issues are on the rise across the country, but very pronounced as well on college campuses. How are students doing? Dr. Dutil, tell us what you're hearing from students in terms of how they're feeling.
I think, you're right. And this has been an issue, and it's pre-pandemic. It was already an issue. We were seeing the data that these things are on the rise. And that could also be, if we look at the research, it could be just that more people are reporting now that there is less stigma around these issues. So people are a little bit more open to talk about it, that colleges are responding with the appropriate services. So people are accessing them because they've always sort of been issues that I think people were afraid to talk about. I think currently our students are very resilient. I think we would all agree. So, and we're in an area that was really hit hard with the effects of the pandemic. So the fact that, our students who are still there have persisted through that just shows their level of resilience. And I think overall we're seeing improvements in terms of just their ability to be more social. And that has a huge impact on people's mental health. So that is definitely a piece that there is improvement. And I think just the work we're doing right now to make sure that our upcoming year offers a lot of opportunity for connection is really important.
Yeah, we know that social engagement piece is so important, not only in terms of their own mental health, but their ability to finish and complete their programs, right? Absolutely. And you're right, that was pre-pandemic. It's just even more pronounced now. So you both know this. Vaughn has a really unique and diverse population that includes many first generation college students, veterans, single parents, some who are starting college later in life, juggling full-time jobs, families, and other priorities in addition to their coursework, right? So are there any, you think, unique issues that you think our student body faces that we should be talking about as well?
You want to start, Omari?
Yes, and like Dr. Dutil talked about, these issues were pre-pandemic. I've had the pleasure of working with Vaughn College since 2014. So, over the years, the new crop of students that come in, they're going to have a different identity than the last group that graduated. So a lot of it, I feel like it's an identity. It's an identity crisis that our students are kind of falling into, trying to find their place in this new norm that they're living in. And I can only imagine being in high school or even middle school, watching, the college experience on TV. And then when it's your turn to go, it looks totally different than what it's like on TV. So I think for our students now, it's just really just trying to find a place to fit in this new world and try to adjust to a lot of the changes that they didn't anticipate coming in.
I think one of the unique things that our students, the majority, right? Nothing is a one size fits all, but the majority of our students, a lot of our students come from a low income background. So they already sort of have additional barriers that they've had to overcome to even get to a college campus. And then the thing is, for a lot of our students, you mentioned veterans, first generation students. So being a college student is not the main part of their identity, and Omari talked about identity. Their parents, they're caretakers for their parents. They are full-time employees. They are spouses. So our students are often non-traditional, where, they come and they live on campus and that's their full-time job. That's not typically what our students are dealing with. There's a lot of pressure. So it makes it a lot more difficult. If you think of the hierarchy of needs, right? You have to have your basic needs met. You have to have secure housing. Make sure your family's taken care of before you're able to fully, immerse yourself in the student experience.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's a great lead into the next place I wanted to go was, I know in our conversations on campus, we have discovered that a lot of our students suffer from imposter syndrome. I don't belong here. I'm not going to make it. Everybody around me is smarter or got it more together or able to handle, whatever life is throwing at them. And so I know that this comes up in terms of what happens in the classroom, whether or not they should pursue an internship, that they just got lucky that they're here, right? And I know we start to talk about this as early as new student orientation. So how can we help our students better cope with that feeling of imposter syndrome?
Yeah, and it's not even just about being in a higher education institution, right? It's the fields in which our students are going into.
Yeah, right,
the fields are male dominated, and it's mostly white, yes, right? Yeah. So I think, even like programs like what Omari is doing is huge. And encouraging our students to build a supportive network is the greatest way to overcome imposter syndrome, is finding mentors, whether that's in your faculty, your advisor, people that look like you who maybe have similar experience, life experience, identity, joining the Society of Women Engineers, the National Black Society of Engineers, places where you can find, people who understand your experience, makes a huge difference.
Yeah, Omari, can you talk a little bit about this idea of you need to see it to be it, and how we can create better structures on campus? Because Stacey's absolutely right. When you get to aviation and aerospace, largely male, largely white, right? And that our students, because I've had conversations with them, folks who listened to the first podcast edition, heard Kiri talk about this need to constantly be demonstrating to people that she was capable. I've had the same conversation with young Black female pilots, right? Same credentials as the person in the seat next to them, but needing to constantly have to remind people about their qualifications and credentials. So what are some of the things that you talk to students about in terms of helping them to be resilient, not only when they're here as a student, but what happens to them when they get to the next place in that all-important profession?
Well, I really use the world in the realm of athletics to teach about life. We like to compete and come together as a unit and as a team to for a common purpose and common goal. But a lot of times, when you look at a team, it's going to be comprised of people from different backgrounds, different areas, and that you got to learn. You kind of got to grow through, that season or that period of time, and you can kind of go through college together. So, creating a community of encouragement and also positive activity, it's really huge for students to find purpose and feel like they belong. Connecting students with other people that do look like them, that are in positions that that they aspire to be in. That's what I really enjoy about our campus and our college community, because you can look at every department in every direction and you can identify with somebody, that's rose or risen to the level that you aspire to be in. So a lot of it is just, collaboration. And that's one of the things that we really pride ourselves on at our institution, in embracing diversity. So it's a great environment for students to be able to kind of overcome some of those fears by getting connected with people, either their peer groups, faculty, or staff, that can give them that guided action and help them along the way.
Yeah, that's a great point. That sense of belonging is so important in terms of feeling more comfortable, right? All right, so let's get into some specifics. How do we help Vaughn students stay mentally healthy and physically healthy? Why don't we start with you, Omari? What are some of the things that you do in terms of the services we offer?
Well, one thing that the pandemic did open up for our department was the virtual world. We were able to connect virtually to a different, I would say, participant of some of our wellness programs, students that may not have felt comfortable in large settings or large groups with other people. So we run a lot of virtual programs, virtual boot camp, and it's always good to be in that type of community where people are working towards something, their best version of themselves. So even yoga classes, we have women only programs, for women to come into community with one another and just to kind of express themselves and relieve themselves from some of that burden that Dr. Dutil talks about, whether it be financial or family, or just pressures to make it in the industries that they're pursuing. Outside of that, recreational programs that we look to explore for students who might not see what's offered on campus as something that they can attach themselves to. One thing I'm excited about is to be able to explore esports as huge in not only the nation right now, but amongst college students. Just to find areas where students can, fit in and find something that they can explore their own talents in. Those are things that we look to do to create in athletics to give students more of a purpose, more belonging, and fitting in that type of environment.
That's great. How about Dr. Dutil in terms of mental health?
I mean, just starting with the basics, helping people get their basic needs met. We have a food pantry that we run from our office, assisting students, where we basically take any barriers away from them accessing it. We don't ask for financial information. All that's required is you're a student. It doesn't matter, part-time, full-time, commuter, it doesn't matter. And so students have been accessing that. And then we also offer, sort of case management too. So students may be having issues in terms of like finding housing or benefits that they might need to access. And we help with those basic things. But then going above and beyond that, it's like, yes, we provide mental health services, individual. We have some groups in the fall. We're going to have a women's group where we talk about those unique issues that women are facing. And we have wellness programming. I go into classrooms as well and talk to students. And we also have a wellness committee. The past couple of years, we've created that, where I collaborate, with my colleagues across departments. We have academic and support services represented, myself, the dean of students, and we really sort of identify students who are having challenges, whether it's academic, personal, and we sort of take a team approach, a holistic approach to what's the best plan to help this student without overwhelming them, but to help them get their needs met and be able to persist in their educational endeavors. So that's a big part also of what I do, and that's where the collaboration comes in. Working with residence life, we often have students in the residence hall who may be in some distress. Maybe they're far away from home. and don't have their normal supports. So I work a lot with Becky Falto to identify those students who may be, having some issues or having medical issues, and helping them get just service coordination is a piece of it. Um, yeah, and then bringing in guest speakers about wellness and mental health, and really like trying to incorporate some fun things. Like we had the wellness challenge in the spring. We had a lot of participation in that. Students won prizes, and they got really competitive with it, like really like each week trying to do more and more because they wanted to win. So that was fun to see.
So let's just stay with that for a moment. We talked a little bit about, the wonderful population that we serve. Many of them, first generation Americans or immigrants themselves to this country have, sometimes not their view of mental health is somewhat different, right? So how have you worked with that population of students who see mental health issues as a real failing, personal failing, or a weakness, right? Rather than something that we all have to deal with, and right, and the idea of getting help. How have you tried to encourage them to say, "Hey, I need some help too"?
Yeah, so there's a few different ways. And I have had a lot of international students do come to my office. And it's really about meeting them where they're at, and cultural humility, and not imposing sort of our Western or white like perception of what is therapy and what is mental health, because there are languages where there is no word for social worker, there's no word for psychotherapy, but people universally know, like, I have a problem and I need some help. I just might not know how to get help with that. And so it's really meeting people where they're at when they come through the door, trying to put them at ease. And a lot of times it's not me going out and finding, like, it's because our faculty recognize it, or my student affairs colleagues will say, hey, because they have these developed relationships already, and they know when a student is struggling. And sometimes students don't even, like I said, they don't know what I do or understand. And so with a little bit of education, they become more open to just having a conversation. And once I can sit down with someone and have a conversation and build that rapport, a lot of their fear or shame about it goes away. And then we can really, get somewhere.
Yeah, terrific. It's really about creating relationship and safety in that relationship, I'm sure. Terrific. All right. Well, so Omari, so we've talked a couple of times about the Women Warriors program that you have. Just for our listeners, about 15% of our population is female. We're a little different from most of higher ed, where it's a completely different ratio of women to men on campus. And that's mainly because aviation, which is one of our primary fields that we serve, has been mostly male, right? And so we know that less than 10% of pilots are women, less than 2% or 3% of maintenance technicians are women, less than 20% in engineering are women. And so you really decided that you wanted to create this wonderful program specifically for women at Vaughn. Can you talk a little bit about why you did it and what some of the results have been from the program?
Well, I stated, I come from a single parent home. So my mother, I watched her work hard and raise 4 kids. And that was empowering in itself, just watching that on a daily basis. And then coming to Vaughn, I was blessed to see Sharon and become the first woman president of Vaughn College. So being the head women's basketball coach, women are sponges. They're sponges for knowledge, and they just want an equal chance like anybody else. There's a lot of struggles that people go through. And when you create an environment and the infrastructure around people who are hungry and they want to succeed, some incredible things can come out of that. And that's what I saw with just working with our women's basketball program over the course of the years. I saw, some of the most remarkable women graduate from Vaughn College that were a part of athletics and were able to really uphold the standard and put Vaughn on the map on a professional level, post-graduation. And I just felt that we can do more to put a better environment, stronger infrastructure around women, and just create community outside of athletics. You don't have to be a part of athletics to, be empowering, right? You can galvanize the student spirit of the campus. You can create different ideas that are innovative, right? These are things that we stand by as far as what Vaughn College means to be a student at Vaughn College. So, the Women of Warriors program just means that there's nothing that I can't do, if given the opportunity to do so. But it's always encouraging when you have other people that are in the fight with you, right? And they share some of those struggles, share some of those dreams that you have, and you can kind of go through life together. If you want to go fast in life, go by yourself. All you have to depend on is yourself. If you want to go far in life, you got to go with a team. And the stronger your team and the stronger that infrastructure, I believe that women can accomplish anything.
So what are some of the key highlights for the structure for the program for this coming year?
Well, for the upcoming year, it's really to galvanize that school spirit. I really see the women being able to help out with different departments to create more awareness, to create more of a buzz for different events that are going on in campus. Also for them to have experience working with different departments and getting those connections, whether it be career services, admissions, financial aid, the library, different areas where they can, get a little expertise and get their foot through the door so they can add to their resume. And also some community service. I'm very passionate about community service and being able to put Vaughn out there in the community and surrounding people and do some positive things out there. Because when they get into the working world, the professional world, what have you, these are some of the skill sets outside of, their resume that jobs are looking for. What else do you bring to the table besides, your 4.0 average, right? We hope everybody graduates for 4.0. But what are some other things that make you a well-rounded individual that you can have a huge impact to, our company or the diversity of our company? So, I'm really looking forward to not only growing the Women Are Warriors program in the Vaughn College community, but to extend it to the outside community as well.
Yeah, terrific. And one of the things that I love that you did last year was for the closing ceremony, you brought back some young alums, right, who graduated within the last 2 years, who are now out working to give some tips about what they found when they were out there and the pieces and how the athletics in particular really helped them in terms of their professional lives, which I thought was a terrific connection to make. So yeah, really looking forward to the program this year and seeing even more women participate. So terrific. Well, as we head into the fall semester, we're a couple of weeks away. What are some of the tips and tricks that you could offer to our students, to any college student, in terms of what will help them to, feel comfortable on campus and to really be successful? Why don't we start with you, Dr. Dutil?
Sure. So when I talk like at orientations or anything during the summer, when I meet new students, one of the biggest things I stress to them and to parents is please be proactive about your mental health and wellness. So, don't wait until you're in a crisis or don't wait until you feel like you've dug a hole that you just can't get out of. Come see us early, right? Come see us and just talk about, introduce yourself, just so you can get to know us and feel comfortable if something does arise and you need to come access our services. Having a plan is so important, like a contingency plan, like, hey, what if I maybe don't do well in a course? What should I do? Because just not taking for granted that maybe college will be the same way high school was, right? Sometimes people face a rude awakening. Or I have issues with my roommate. I get along with everyone and now I'm having these issues. What do I do? So there's so many resources on campus to help very proactively. It's just not being afraid to come, talk to your RA, talk to the student affairs. We have a student affairs suite full of people willing to help, come to my office and come to our events too. If you're not interested in individual counseling, we have both virtual and we'll be having in-person events. So, just coming and getting to know us, I think is really important for new students and continuing students if they haven't before.
Right. I love that part about having a plan. That is so true. Yeah, because oftentimes things don't go to plan, right?
And then plan.
You need the contingency. That's a great point. Yeah, and Omari, what are some tips? And I'm sure you're going to tell everybody to join a team.
Drink lots of water. No.
Yes, I love it.
You know, and Dr. Dutil, she touched on it. You know, right? Success is a planned event, right? Being proactive, action cures fear. One of my biggest talks to new students is networking, right? I know that's scary, but you know that's one of the best skill sets you can learn in college after the program and degree that you're getting. Is to network, so it is associating and going to different events, finding where you belong. We have a wide range of programs that we offer throughout the campus, and it's really offered. Anybody can find their way in the program, right? But once again, if you don't have an action plan, then you won't take that level of, you won't take the chance to associate at those programs, to meet new people and see, who's aligned with, where I'm going, what I'm trying to do. So that would be my biggest tip outside of fitness. But fitness wise, try to get 30 minutes of high activity a day, right? And work yourself up. Getting 1% better every day it makes a huge difference over the course of the year. You'll be 365% better than you were when you started off the year by just getting 1% better every day. So setting small goals will lead to larger victories. And I feel like when you're first coming in, you're overstimulated sometimes with everything that's happening in your environment. So if you just set small goals and you work towards that over the course of the year, you'll be surprised at how much you've accomplished.
Great tips. I needed you too before I started college because my first semester was horrible.
So was mine. Yeah.
I went home and said, that's it. I'm never going back to school again. And then I got home and it was worse than school. So I thought, let me go back to school. But, there weren't a lot of these services and opportunities, back a few years ago. And, the fact that we're so much more proactive and trying to reach students in different kinds of ways and have different ways of reaching students now, right? You don't have to take the scary step that I had to take of finding the counseling center. Right? This idea of meeting people where they're at as soon as they come to be part of our community is such a great point, so that when they do need our help, they know where to go. Yeah, terrific. So I always like to end with asking my guests, and this is a little off topic for the moment, the same question. So, and either one of you can take this. What is the most daring thing you've ever done, and how did you talk yourself into it?
Is there like a timer? It's like a Jeopardy timer or 30 seconds?
I'll go first. But you can think, Omari.
I don't know if you're supposed to buzz in on that. Go ahead.
Okay. For me, I came to New York City for graduate school and moved from northern Vermont. So I was familiar with New York. I had gone to undergrad for like a year, but then I had 2 small children. And I got into NYU for grad school, and I moved. I had no family, maybe knew 1 or 2 people in the city, not close friends. And everyone thought I was crazy. Like, you're moving with a 3 and a 5-year-old. How are you going to go to school? And it was a program where you couldn't work. And I decided that I knew what I wanted. I had these goals. And if I didn't do it, it was more uncomfortable and stressful than if I just did it. And the bigger part of it is the advice I give to people is I made sure I had a plan. So I didn't just do things on a whim. I had everything in place. I was like, I know about the program. I think I chose the right program for me. I, looked at different apartments in different places, schools for my kids. I wanted to make sure like everything was in place. Before I went there, I didn't, go hastily. And it was the best decision I ever made. It was certainly difficult and stressful. And there were days I thought I'm going to drop out of school and fail. And I pushed myself through with the help of family and a network I made for myself at NYU. And now I'm an adjunct there. So I built that community there, and that was huge for me.
Oh, what a great story, and so applicable to what we were just talking about. So yeah, thank you, Stacey. Omari?
The most daring thing I've done was really building a personal brand. Getting into business ownership and entrepreneurship. Outside of my career, I have a passion of really helping and developing young adults, reach their highest potential. And I know I have a a good sense of public speaking, but that was something I had to really work on. A lot of hours practicing in front of the mirror that people don't see. But, I do know that my voice is powerful, and I wanted to spread it across the country and across the world and really have a global impact. So really developing a personal brand to be able to touch the lives of many was something that was extremely uncomfortable for me, and something I've been working on. And, getting mentorship, guidance, and like Dr. Dutil said, expanding your network and really just associating at the highest level. So those things were extremely daring for me, and I'm excited for what the future holds.
Oh, I would never have known that.
That is cool.
That you aren't a good public speaker. Oh my gosh, I've only known you to be like the best public speaker. What a great story. That's terrific. Because I only know you as this amazing person that I see on campus on a regular basis, and you were very intentional about getting to that place. So
yeah, I was a very shy kid. I didn't talk much. If I had it my way, I wouldn't really talk. But that's not how you get much done.
Oh wow!
I did know that if I was going to reach the level I wanted to reach, I was going to have to do a better job public speaking and being able to associate and network and be in different groups. So, that was something that I worked on from a very, very young age.
Oh, that's terrific. Well, thank you both for sharing that. So I always close with kind of a wrap up of what we've talked about in our future-proof tip of the month based on the conversation that we both had. I mean, I very clearly heard create a plan. I very clearly heard believe in yourself. In addition to whatever you're doing on campus, in your life, if you're making those slow incremental changes, you're going to be able to look back over a period of time and say, oh my gosh, look at how far I've come. This idea of creating a network and a support structure, or knowing where the network and the support structure is, are really important in terms of creating a sense of belonging, in terms of believing in yourself. And probably one of the biggest ones is you're way more resilient than you think, right? And that's definitely true for our students as well. Have a question? Email us at futureprooffocus@vaughn.edu. And don't forget to subscribe, follow, and rate the podcast. Thanks for listening, and see you next time.